everybody. Welcome to Real Horror. Um, Today I am joined again by my good friend Vinny Art. Nice to
Hello.
see you, Vinny Art.
Hello. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here and to start season two. Cause yeah, what a damn good show.
Yes. I'm looking forward to getting into this episode. Um, this season I think is going to be another fun one to get into.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's season one was a blast to review, and season two, the first episode picks up right where we left off,
Oh yeah,
and I
picks up
love
like a
that.
hurricane.
Yeah. I love how like it's as if no like there was no time in between episodes, like it's just continuous.
Yeah, yeah. They,
Yeah.
they they did a damn good job with these.
Absolutely.
I mean, they kind of they give us what looks like the end of season two right in the beginning, and then
Yep.
yeah, like you said, then it goes back 12 weeks to where we were, where Will gets thrown in prison. So, um,
Yes.
well,
Yeah,
well,
I
the
love that.
the criminally insane.
Yep. I love how I love how season 2, yeah, I love how the episode starts. Real quick, I want to say hello to Lurch. He was in the chat, and um I hope you're doing well, Lurch. And yeah, this episode starts off really cool, like you mentioned. Um so it so we don't know right away, but it starts with Jack and Hannibal, like they're like fighting and everything, and
Hmm.
it's going down. It's a pretty big fight, and at first you're thinking, whoa, like this escalated fast, like what happened and everything. And because I mean it's bloody and everything, like it's a pretty big fight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's violent and savage. I mean, they did a damn great job doing the choreography too. Because
Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, this isn't Lawrence Fishburne from The Matrix. You know, like he's a little older and a little heavier at this point.
yeah.
You know, and he's moving like an angry bear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's yeah. And the
Yeah,
way
it's
that
great.
in that fight, the way that Hannibal leaps over the his like butcher counter thing, that
Yeah,
was awesome to see too.
it
Like
was.
yeah, the whole fight, it looks great because like it's kind of it's in like a slow motion, and the way that they like exchange their blows and everything, and the way everything is done, it just very well done. It's this this show is like a feast for the eyes.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, everything about it, the cinematography, the action, the cerebral kind of thing that's going on there, because it is like cat and mouse.
Mm,
Um, like every season's like that, every episode's like that. You know, catching these bad guys or whatever, and then who's attached to the Hannibal situation, and you know all the crazy kills that he did throughout season one, and now what they're doing with two, and oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
it's damn good. By the way, we're doing one and two today, right?
just one.
Oh, okay.
Because yeah, the reason why I figured we'll just do the first episode is that's how we started season 1, and because it's an odd number of episodes, it
Okay.
just makes it easier that the rest of the season is 2 for the rest of the season.
All right.
It just makes it easier. I figured
All
that
right.
way.
Well, I got I jumped the gun then, and I got yeah one and two I have under the belt.
Well, hey, you're halfway into next week's review, so
Yeah,
you got a jump start.
yeah. I might skip ahead again. Well, go back and then kind of fast forward through key parts of two for next week. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
I'll rewatch a little bit of that again because yeah,
I'm I'm I'm
it's a
like
lot.
holding myself back from doing that. I'm like I'm sticking with like the episodes we're reviewing, and I'm
Yeah.
like, as soon as the episode is done, I hit X to make sure like I don't go forward.
Not to spoil. Yeah. See the thing. Yeah. I was just I was in what do you call it? In that routine of watching two at a time. So
Hmm.
that's why I thought, oh, like all right, one and two, cool.
Yeah, I forgot to actually I forgot to mention to you that we were just gonna do episode 1 today. That's actually my bad. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, no worries. I mean, this show's so good, it doesn't even matter.
Absolutely.
You know? I had
But
some time since I couldn't really work, so that's all
yeah.
good.
Well, yeah. And yeah, hello DeBeast, nice to see you.
Hey, the
Um
beast.
yeah, and I'm glad you could make it. Hope you're having a great night. And yeah, all right. So then yeah, at the end of that, we see it shows 12 weeks earlier. So we know that at the end of this season that scene happens. So that's something
Yeah,
that we get to look forward to. So we get to see how this whole thing unfurls to that point.
yeah, and what had happened? I mean, oh, it was so upsetting
Yeah.
that moment because it's like, all right, we have. I mean, from how it started, and Hannibal throwing the knife at him like that as soon as like Jack like he went to go draw. Um,
Mhm.
his gun at him, and just the fight that ensued, and then finally, Lawrence Fishburne, he gets he's pretty much has the upper hand in most of that fight. I mean, it kind of a little bit equal, but then leaning towards Lawrence Fishburne, and then he has him
Mhm.
in this choke kind of move. He's taking him out, and then Hannibal does something really dirty.
I know.
That piece of glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was. He rams it right into his neck, and
Yeah.
then he keeps it in there, but he runs into like his little wine closet
Mhm.
kind of thing, and when Hannibal grabbed that knife and he started like that slow charge towards the door, and then with his shoulder he just threw his whole body into it, and he
Yeah.
oh that was savage, like yeah, very primal.
I know. I know. That was wild. It was the whole thing was wild to see, and it was like, oh man, yeah, because like I had forgot. I I don't think I remember any of season 2 at this point. Maybe like as we go through, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that part.
Hmm.
Um, but right now, I had forgotten all of that, so it was awesome to see. Like it feels like I have never seen this at this point. And
Yeah.
yeah, so this is a wild trip. So seeing that, it was like, oh man, that's how this is gonna play out at the end. It was yeah, it was wild. Like I'm I'm surprised they gave us the answer like right off the bat in the beginning.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It,
we
it
know.
it goes to show you how crazy the season's gonna get.
Yep, yep. And I was gonna say, and we know that with the writing, how good the writing is on this show, that even knowing how, how that is gonna happen, we're still gonna enjoy the ride anyway.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, so then the 12 weeks earlier pops up, and then we see Hannibal is preparing a meal for Jack, and it's like this. Well, he's playing it off as if it's like sashimi and
Hmm.
um and everything like that. We know it's not. We know it's not any kind of fish or
Well,
anything
it,
like that.
it it did look a lot like fish. I mean, that meal could have been, to be
It
honest.
it looked like he yes, yes. So he did make it look like it was, but when Jack took a bite, he's like, "I'm not picking up any of the fish." And then I like how Hannibal says he was a flounder, and
Oh yeah.
in the like
Well, what
yeah,
the hell part of the human would look like that? Because it was like a white uh it was like a white meat, like flounder.
it was very pale. I think it was the tongue because at the beginning as he's preparing it, we see something that looks like a tongue. So it could have been,
I have to go back and look.
yeah.
I've had cow tongue before, and that
Oh,
looks,
really?
yeah, it doesn't look anything like that.
Oh,
I mean,
I don't
yeah,
know. Maybe it was maybe like the way he prepared it, or I have
maybe.
no idea.
Yeah, or he used other kinds of seasonings,
Yeah,
pieces. Who
yeah.
knows? But I mean, these dishes look amazing how they did them anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
hello,
good.
Brian Sanchez.
Hey, what's
Um,
up?
he says, "Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm a fan of movies, horror, sci-fi, noir, mystery, thriller, and yeah, cool. All right, well, you are in the right place for that." And this series basically covers pretty much all of that, really.
Yeah.
Um,
I figured
so
I should have a new Hannibal picture, by the way, since this is season 2.
the good one, I like it. He looks less crazed, but it's still like it's
Still
still
creepy.
there. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, he's telling like I said, Jack's like I'm not picking up the fish in this, and yeah, he says like he was a flounder, and flounder means like to stagger helplessly or struggle
Yep.
mentally,
Hmm.
and so that's like so descriptive. It's just funny the way he says things,
Yeah. It's
and
so yeah. It always has the double meanings.
yes, everything with him has a double like. There's always a deeper meaning with him.
Hmm.
And then they start talking about Will and well, he says that the last time he prepared this meal was for the death of his aunt, and then they refer to Will as like they're like the death of Will, and Jack's like, well, I still have hope for him and everything, and says that he'll that Jack says, I'll be on trial in the halls of the FBI, and so will you, referring to Hannibal.
Hmm.
And he says, that Hannibal, I'm sorry, Will has basically, put Jack onto Hannibal, like to have him investigate Hannibal. And
Yeah. Yeah. They keep talking to Will like that too, because he's getting a death penalty with all the
yeah,
evidence that they have, and like
yep,
when it goes to trial, basically.
yep, yep. And yeah, and they refer to Will as Jack's bloodhound and everything like that,
Hmm.
and Hannibal says, well, we can't just define Will by his the his maddest points, and Jack says we can't define Will at all, and I thought that was a neat exchange between them two.
Hmm. That was good.
And then oh, hey, Scrambles, nice to see you.
Hey, what's up?
And next thing we see is Will is fly fishing in that lake by his house. Um, and then across the lake, we see, well, he sees that stag, and then it shows that he's actually in a cell. So Woody's like he's basically dissociating, like he's traveling to these places in his mind,
Hmm.
escaping in his mind.
Yeah.
And we see Chilton talking to him, but it's kind of like muffled. We can't really hear what Chilton is saying.
Yeah, it's because he's like tuning him out.
Yep, yep. And
Because we know Chilton is he's just a scumbag who's trying to play mind games, and he's failing desperately.
yep. No elephants yet, manliness.
Oh, by the way, manliness. Yeah, we did start Primal on my channel. We did the first 3 episodes on Sunday, so we'll do a couple more this Sunday.
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's we had
I
fun.
I knew you'd enjoy it because yeah, it is so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to more.
Oh, absolutely.
And the so the like the cage, the cell or whatever you want to call it that he's in is like only a little bit bigger than like the old style phone booths. it's kind of ridiculous what they have him in.
Yeah, it looks like the dunking cage
Yes,
at a
and that
carnival.
yes, exactly, and then that's actually like he kind of makes reference to that because Chilton says, well, Will says, what did you say? And because, it sounds muffled. And Chilton said, well, I said, how does that make you feel? Cliche, but, they
Mhm.
had to put it in there.
Yeah.
And Will says, well, it feels like I'm sitting here in a dunking tank and, you keep lobbing, softballs to
Hmm.
make, a splash, but you keep missing. And,
Hmm.
and it's, it's exactly like that is exactly what he looks like.
Yeah. And
It,
Chilton's so pissed when he says it too,
yep.
because he knows that's exactly what he's trying to do.
And Chilton's such a smug little asshole. Like,
Yeah, he is.
oh man, he's
You know.
so well acted though.
Yeah. Both the
And
guys who played him, the ones in the movie, and this one, yeah, they. I think this one is even. You want to punch him in the face even harder than the guy in the original movies.
mhm, yep.
Something about him, yeah, it's crazy.
And yeah, manliness. I agree. It's absolutely like that. Primal is awesome. That you like. There is so much unspoken dialogue
Hmm.
that it's so it like yeah, like you said, it's so well written
Yeah.
and it has no dialogue, and yet there is so much dialogue there. It's
Yeah, the
yeah,
connection through the eyes of the characters,
yep,
the events of how they're playing out, and just even
yep,
like when he snaps and he starts to yell and going into an attack, it's like everything makes sense. Everything plays the way that it should. Even that
mhm,
whole thing of like you're training a really big animal, because like there was what was it, episode 2 where the thing is like stealing his food and everything, right? When he just made it an amazing kill, took him all
mhm,
day to do it, and this thing just runs by and it takes it, and he's like, flipping out. It's these little moments, like that's why I told you it's so powerful. And then when you see more kind of where it's heading, and oh yeah, it's great.
mhm,
But
mhm,
see, that's what I mean. That's what's cool about this stuff. That's a show that we could all enjoy for different reasons than something like this, where it's like so intricate in the writing and like what's going on and
mhm,
the horrific aspect, which is so good. It's all rich with detail,
yeah,
um, and yeah, it's just that's why it's better to talk about the stuff we like.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. I'm so glad we started you started that primal stream because yeah, having
it's
a
awesome.
blast with that.
Hell yeah. Well, that and Arcane, I mean, that's
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
talking about. We got some good ones here. We did the entirety of season 1 of Hannibal over here. Again, magnificent show. People, go check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, yeah,
So good.
absolutely. Yep. All right,
But
so
yep.
yeah. So then Chilton is responds to Will and says, fortunately I have time for a few more lobs because you're my patient now.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how Will, when he talks back to Chilton, he calls him by his first name instead of Dr. Chilton.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's totally like he shows his contempt for this guy.
Yep.
It totally deserved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he doesn't deserve any respect whatsoever.
mm,
Hey guys, he's a
mhm.
manipulative piece of shit. What
Yep,
he did to like the other what's his name?
Gideon.
Gideon, yeah.
Yep,
Like again, that's evil, and Will saw right through him.
yep,
So there's not yeah, now he thinks he has a leg up on him now that yeah, you're in my cell, you're the serial killer, blah blah blah. It's
yep, yep.
yeah, it's wild.
And yeah, like he won't talk to Chilton, and the only thing he says is that I want to talk to Dr. Lecter, and then he goes back to reimagining his lake, and this time he sees that, like we saw at the end of season 2, the demon man with the antlers
Mm-hmm.
pop up out of the lake. So yeah, he's seeing that still. And then we're back at the FBI, and we have Jack and Alana is being well, more so Jack is being questioned by the director, um, and you know, she's basically saying, you know, you went against a, Dr. Bloom's advice, you know, about putting him in the field and everything like that. And Bloom kind of tries to cover for him, and she's like, well, I, before I get to that, the FBI director says, you know, these are allegations of misconduct. And Bloom is like, whoa, I never alleged misconduct. And the director turns to her and she says, you know, misjudgment is misconduct.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, like this is quite a situation.
Yeah, yeah, that one who's saying it too. What's her name? Cynthia
Cynthia Nixon.
Nixon. Yeah, wasn't she from the HBO show?
Sex in the City.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, her character. I mean, because like later on when she comes up again, it's yeah, you could tell that she's just all about the bureau, and you know, um, yeah, they wrote her really well too because it's like someone in government for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because as the conversation goes on, she kind of turns to Alana and she's like, well, she first says, you know, there's, you know, a you know, there's a lot of desire to make this whole thing go away.
Hmm.
And then she turns to Alana and says, you know, we'd really appreciate if you recant your report. And Alana's like, no way, you know, Will's life was destroyed and there needs to be a record of how it happened. And then she's like, sorry, Jack. Because, like, she doesn't want to throw Jack under the bus. But
Right,
at the same time, you know, this did happen to Will. And
right.
so it's,
Because we know as the audience that Will wasn't responsible, but
yeah,
them in their position, they have no idea. And
right.
if this is all true, and Will did do this, Jack pushed him over the edge.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So she's totally justified by her decision, you know,
Yep.
to file the report and everything.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And plus it should be a matter of record anyway because that is whether he's responsible or not, that is the timeline of events.
Yep.
Yeah, so then the director says, you know, this will get ugly and Jack's like it already has.
Hmm.
So
But that's what I like about Jack too. He knows that he did
mhm.
push too hard too, because he doesn't really fight it.
Yep.
He's like, no, like Alana, like you're right.
Yeah, yeah, he accepts his like he
Yeah,
has personal responsibility
for sure.
about it. Yeah,
Which
so that shows honor.
yeah, that's what I like about his character.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I don't remember as much how Harvey Keitel played him in Red Dragon, but like I like how
Mm.
Lawrence Fishburne's playing him because there's
Mhm.
times where we were like, oh, you scumbag! Like, how could you do that to Will? And then in this one, he's being very remorseful towards all of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, because I know the movie is a little different. Like the character doesn't get
Mm.
framed for anything like that, or he doesn't get thrown in jail or nothing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for what they did here, like it makes a lot of sense, and yeah, they handle it beautifully with this writing.
Yes. Yep. And then we go to Rockville, Maryland, and there's a couple of city workers. They're wading through like a river, and they're going up to like this dam, and there there's something wrong with like the flow of the water, and they think that maybe, you know, the somebody destroyed like the beaver dams or something. So the one guy is like poking around with it with a stick, and then like a dead like he's like something smells bad, and the other guy's like maybe it's just a dead beaver, and then all of a sudden a dead body floats up, and then what wasn't there like a second one that floats up too, and he runs like
Yeah,
in,
there was a couple.
yeah, there's a couple dead bodies, yeah, and then he's like scurrying, he's like trying to get away fast.
Yeah, he literally like he falls because
Yeah,
they're all like they're kind of just springing up beside him.
yeah,
There was
yeah,
like three or four of them, and then one of them like he kind of gets caught up in it,
yeah,
and yeah, and like oh yeah, like piece of the flesh like rips off. It's like ooh,
yeah, yeah, it was nasty.
not okay.
And so we put a pin in that for now, and then next thing we see is Hannibal meeting with his psychiatrist, the lovely Gillian Anderson.
Hmm.
And they talk about, he says that, Will wants to meet with him again, and he also wants to see Will. And she's like, you know, you basically, and this was weird because she says him wanting to see Lecter betrays the intent to manipulate Lecter. And I didn't really understand that because I've never seen an instance where Will tries to manipulate Lecter, always the other way around.
Hmm.
So I didn't really understand that part. And and then Lecter says that I miss Will. And she's like, you don't miss him, you're obsessed with him. And
Hmm.
he's like, well, he's like, I care about him. And she's like, yeah, obsessively.
Hmm.
And he's like, she says that Will take advantage of that.
See, I think she said it like that to try to sway his view,
Mm,
to make it look like, oh yes, he is dangerous, and you need to be careful of him. I think
mm-hmm,
she's trying to play Hannibal at this point.
mm, mm.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the sense I'm kind of getting because I'm starting to see a little bit of fear in her face now.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, because she knows how dangerous Hannibal is.
yeah.
But yeah, I like how this one's starting to play out, and how they added a little bit more of her in like this first episode, and well, and part of the second one.
Yeah. And in this conversation, Hannibal phrases something interestingly. He says that that he sees Will, he says Will sees his own mentality as grotesque but useful, like a chair of antlers. And like that metaphor stuck out to me, a
Hmm.
chair of antlers, because like that's an ongoing theme in the series,
Yeah,
that all the antlers.
a very morbid kind of reference,
Yeah,
and to me,
absolutely.
yeah, that's all I'm thinking is a Hobbs.
Yeah, yeah, because every time we've seen antlers, it's always been in a bad way. Like
Hmm.
anytime, like the antlers where that girl was um impaled, and then the antler room where that where the what was her name, Marissa was, she was
Yeah.
also impaled on the wall.
Hmm.
And then every time Will sees antlers, it's always a nightmare, or something that correlates to uh Lec- Lecter.
Yeah, either Lecter or a big kill that had just happened.
Yes. Yeah, it's always an omen, or it's always in a negative way, like,
Yep.
yeah, very, yeah, it's always bad. And then he goes on to say, he can't repress who he is, and there's an honesty in that I admire. And she says, I imagine that there's you know an honesty in that you can relate to. And she says, what can't you repress? And he just smirks, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then we end up at the famous Baltimore State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, or as I have it in my notes, Arkham Asylum.
Yep.
We see Will in his cell, and boy, does this look! They did such a great job of
They're
harkening
recreating it.
back to Silence
Yep.
of the Lambs in this.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
it's amazing.
yeah, I
And
love it.
and Red Dragon. It's the same song.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yep. With the like the rock wall, the not rock wall, but like the brick wall behind him.
Yeah, it's
It's
like that kind of stone,
Yeah, yep.
like almost like the prison was carved into like a mountainside or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it's wild.
And
Yeah, I like how they do that.
we hear like that prison, like, when they let someone in,
Hmm.
and then we hear footsteps coming, but they're not like human footsteps. they well, they are, but
They sound like
when
hooves.
yeah, and when Will looks over, he sees a stag leg, like, but it's
Hmm.
black.
Yep.
And then we hear hello Will, and it's Lecter, because at any time it's about a stag, it's Lecter.
Yep. Dr.
And
Lecter. Dr. Lecter. Sorry. A little Clarice.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because Will only calls him Dr. Lecter now.
Hmm.
And I love that because, like, that reminds me of Clarice.
Yep. It also breaks that friendship thing
Yes.
because, like, yeah, we know, he's responsible for all this, and Will believes it no matter what. That, yeah,
Hmm.
you did this. You I know you did. And Lecter's playing it off like it's still his delusion.
Yep. Yeah, because Will looks away, and
Hmm.
then yeah, Lecter goes lost in thought, and he's like, I'm not lost anymore.
Hmm.
And he's like, he has complete clarity. And then he mentions how his inner voice used to sound like himself, but now it's Lecter's voice. And Lecter tries to play it off like, well, a close friendship will, blah blah blah. And then Will's like, no, we are a million light years away from friendship. Like, that's
Hmm.
not, he totally shuts that down.
Yeah, and then Lecter almost looks sad when he says it.
Yeah, I
Like,
know, because
yeah, he lost that power over him.
yeah. And in some twisted way, he still feels like Will is his friend.
Hmm.
It's really twisted.
Yeah, twisted and creepy. Like, they did such a great job with that
Yeah,
because
so good.
it's subtleties. Again, it's not super like in your face. It's like these little kind of, like, the way he looks at him now is different. Like, it's
Yep.
that type of stuff. Like, yeah, they really play it up great.
Yes. Yep. And after Will says that, Hannibal's like, I'm sure it's easier for you to imagine that I did all this instead of taking responsibility for, the fact that you did it.
Hmm.
And then, Will isn't having that. Like, Will isn't under his control anymore.
Right.
And he's like, no, I know that you did this. He's like, I'm gonna figure out what you did, to I'm gonna figure out what you did, and there's gonna be a reckoning. And Lecter just says, I have a lot of faith in you, Will. I always have. And
Hmm.
it's just, yeah, like, I'm so proud of Will. Like, he's just like, to see Will be standing up for himself and
Right.
be his
Because
own person.
yeah, because he's not sick anymore. He
Yeah.
had like what was that again? The
In the encephalitis.
encephalitis. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what was making him kind of loopy and seeing extra shit that wasn't there, and you
Yep.
know those lapses in time and everything.
Yep. Yep. And like, not being able to, like, all of his reasoning wasn't fully there. And um
Hmm.
so he was easily manipulated by Lecter and everything. And yeah, now that's like he said in the last, season 1, episode 13, the scales have fallen off his eyes.
Yeah.
And hello, Time Prophet, nice to see you.
Hey, what's up?
Oh yeah, I know. That would be so cool if they had gotten Anthony Hopkins in as a cameo.
How would they do that? Where would they put him? Because it'd be like
Even,
like alternate universe Hannibal.
yeah, like, maybe he's like an orderly or a janitor in the prison, um or just some kind of cameo.
you think
Would
you
have
think
just
he
been
would have done
cool.
it?
Um, that's a good question, because some actors are like, no, I deserve more of a role than that.
I mean, I know
So
because he's such a good sport and stuff, but at the same time too, I mean, like, this was the character that really put him on the map in a big way.
yeah, that is true.
So would it be almost disrespectful? Like, because I mean,
Yeah.
like the show itself is so good, and like I could see him like, you know what? I never seen any interviews. Maybe we should look that up at some point.
Hmm.
What his
Yeah.
thoughts were on this, because I mean, it is so well done, but it is very, very different from like what the movie was.
Mm,
You know,
very.
same thing like Manhunter. Manhunter's, they took some big liberties with that as well from original source material and from movie to movie.
Yep. And Time Prophet's ideas, he could have played Hannibal's dad. Yeah, they could have worked that in.
Oh yeah, that's true. Something like that could have worked.
Yeah. All right. So, all right, where did we
Oh,
leave
by the
off?
way, that other one with Hannibal Rising, it looks like it is on Amazon as well.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, we should definitely do Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon, and what do you think? Like, and there was one of them I didn't like. I can't remember which one it was.
It might have been Hannibal.
Is that the one that most people? I think most people don't like.
It's because they changed. Yeah, they changed the actress because she couldn't do it. Jodie Foster. She was under contract with another movie
Okay.
when they already greenlit the film, so she couldn't get out of it, and they had to cast Julianne Moore.
Mm.
Which Julianne Moore is not Clarice. Sorry.
Yeah.
But there's so much good stuff in that movie because it's him loose. Because in the end of Silence of the Lambs, he gets free, and he says that he's meeting an old friend for dinner. And where we see him, he's following Chilton. They're like in South America. Chilton, he went to try to escape as well. He's trying to flee because he knows Hannibal's on the loose. So he thinks he going to another country or just disappearing. Hannibal won't find him, but Hannibal was right there. And that's how Silence of the Lambs ends, because he had the phone call with Clarice, and yeah, he walks into the crowd, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm having an old friend for dinner."
Yeah,
And,
he's like out of the country. He's
yeah,
yeah.
and you see Chilton with like he's like shuffling through a crowd like he just got off a plane, and yeah, so we know what's gonna happen to Chilton.
Yep.
But then Hannibal is it's him. He's loose. So that's why there's a lot of great crazy things in there, but there's a lot of horrific shit as well. That's where Gary Oldman was in it, and he plays the character in the wheelchair.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, we're seeing like really bad stuff in this and in these 2 seasons anyway. Speaking of horrific imagery and stuff, so
yeah, definitely.
I mean, you can't really. Yeah, I wonder how it's gonna hold if we go back and watch these, but.
We should. I would love to.
Yeah, I'd be down for it. Well, like I said, it should be. I mean, if we're not going to do Hannibal Rising, it should be Red Dragon and then Silence of the Lambs and then Hannibal, like that.
Yeah, and Manliness. It says you should watch Manhunter if you haven't reviewed it for this show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do that, we could do that. Manhunter first, then Red Dragon.
Yeah, because isn't Manhunter that was the first movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That's with Brian Cox.
That was back in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah. What's his name? The guy from CSI. He was the lead in it. The guy with the kind of salt and pepper hair.
Okay.
I don't remember his name though. He looks a little bit like Brian Paul. The CSI guy. I really don't remember his name though.
I don't know the name.
I think it was the Vegas one. Let me see. CSI Vegas. Yeah, William Peterson.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah. Holy shit, that guy's 71 now.
Yeah, everybody's getting old.
Yeah. I forgot how long ago that show was.
Well, that's I mean.
Yeah, here's Will Graham from Manhunter. This guy.
Yeah.
Do you recognize him? I don't know if you watched the show.
I think I do.
Yeah, it's the CSI Vegas.
Yeah, I definitely, I recognize him.
Yeah, because she was one of the co-stars.
Yep.
Was that black guy? Like he was half black. Was he on that one too, or was that the other CSI show? There was a black guy who had like very blue eyes.
Oh
He
yeah.
ruined his career. Like, he became a drug addict, and then they found him again.
Yeah, I don't know who, I don't know which one. I didn't like follow the show.
Yeah, like I watched the first 2 seasons. I remember that like, it was really good, and then like I had crazy work, so I missed a lot of shows again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
Okay.
curious to see. Yeah, to go back and watch that.
Okay, Manliness says he was on the Vegas show, might have moved to other shows.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did that. They bounced around some of the cast. That's right.
All right, so getting back to this episode, we are at FBI headquarters, and Beverly swabbing Lecter. They're processing Lecter, like his suits and everything, and getting his DNA and whatnot, and they talk about Will, and she's like, we found a lot of evidence on Will, yeah, because it's all planted.
Yep.
And Hannibal's like, Will's doing his best to understand where he is and why he's there and everything. And she says, you were supposed to protect him. And Lecter goes, what, from himself? And she's like, yeah. She's like, well, I'm not just mad at you, we all missed it. And Hannibal's like, yeah, but we're not all suspects. And Beverly's like, you're not a suspect. You're the new Will Graham, which leads us to the crime. We go to the crime scene now, and Hannibal's there, and he is basically filling in where that would be Will's job. He's doing Will's job now.
Mm-hmm. And he gets this crazy enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
Like almost like a fanboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah. All right, so yeah. Yeah, so they discover that a bunch of these bodies, what was it, like 6 of them or something like that, they were all injected with silicone, and Lecter thinks that he was making models, and
Lecter's the one that he's the first one who said that.
Yeah,
he brought that up because he says, yeah, it looks like they're covered in some kind of resin.
Yep. Yeah,
and kind of preserve them.
Yeah, and he's like, these were, and Beverly's like, well, like, why did he throw what are these? Why would he throw his models away? And Hannibal's like, these were, these are his discards. These were the imperfect ones. And Beverly's like, geez, I'd like to see the ones or how many he kept or something like that.
Yeah, if these are the ones that he threw away, what the hell the other ones look like?
Yeah. And next we see Hannibal is back at his psychiatrist's office, and he is signing a waiver, but we find out that it's actually a limited waiver, so manipulation. Because when isn't he?
Yep.
And
she's all shocked with Bedelia.
Yeah.
She's all shocked because he's like, wait, you're willing to sign this?
Yeah. Well, yeah, she basically like calls him out. She's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you inviting this kind of scrutiny from the FBI? And he's like, he's like, I'm just trying to be open and honest. And she's like, the look on her face, she's like calling bullshit without saying it.
Yeah, because she's the one that's going to have to lie on his behalf.
Yeah. And she even says, you put on an air of transparency.
Yep.
And she's like, you're putting me in a position to lie for you again. and then he says he comes back. He's kind of almost in a way snaps back and he says, "You're not just lying for me." So
Mm-hmm.
basically, implying that whatever is in, if he didn't sign a limited waiver,
Mm-hmm.
that if it were a full waiver, they'd find out some stuff about her as well.
Yeah, it's a very subtle kind of threat.
Yeah, like be thankful that it's limited because it protects you too.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because she has this look on her face, and um and then and she says yeah, he says, it seems like you're more suspicious of me than Jack is. And she says, Jack doesn't know what you're capable of. And he says, neither do you, which was chilly.
Yeah, because she already knows what he's capable of to a certain degree.
Yes, like I'm thinking that, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so we know that he in front of her,
Murdered someone.
yeah, caused the guy to swallow his own tongue.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he says she doesn't know what he's capable of. I'm sure she can paint a pretty horrific picture at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Especially after he said that, you can almost see the chill come over her.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey Tommy, how's it going?
Hey, Tommy.
Hope you
What's
well.
up, brother?
And then we see Alana playing with Will's dogs, and she goes and visits Will after, and she's talking to him, and he asks her how they're doing, and she says Winston keeps getting away, and Will's like, where does he go? And she's like, he goes home, which is kind of like really hit me in the feels for some reason,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It's oh my god. Yeah, especially yeah. If you have pets, and
Yeah,
that's what they'll do.
yeah,
Especially the good ones like that. And
yeah,
yeah, and she's like, well, at least I don't have to go crazy trying to find him. I know where he is, or
yeah,
where he's off to.
yep. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
well,
like one of those kind of heartbreaking moments too,
it
because it's like,
is very, very,
you know,
and yeah, because then he goes, well, he's not gonna find me there, and Alana, like, she's just awesome. She's like,
hmm
well, someday he might with the right defense, and then Will is like, well, what kind of defense do you think I have? And then he's like, I don't have any legal representation. She's like, you keep firing your lawyers, and he's like, no, those are the FBI lawyers.
hmm
And then I love her because she's like, I'll find you a lawyer. And it's
yeah,
like, she's just
she's
awesome.
such a great character,
Yeah, she
you know,
is. Like,
and especially when they show her like kind of playing with the dogs and stuff, like
yeah,
you feel like, oh yeah, these two would have been perfect together.
yeah, I know.
Had the circumstances been different.
Yep. And yeah. And she proposes, like, his a good defense, which would probably hold up for him,
hmm
is she calls it automatism, and it's basically, he wasn't in control of his own actions because
Right.
of his sickness.
Yep.
And as
And
long
that's
as
what I like too, is she doesn't give up on him.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's like she has that hope for him that he has actually lost.
hmm
And so yeah, it's good. And she's like, your mind was on fire, you had no control over yourself and everything. And he's like, what if I could remember what was done to me? And she says, you mean, what if you could remember how you did it? So she's still she's still thinking, yeah, he did do it, but it wasn't his fault because
hmm
you know but he is like, no, I know I did not do this,
Right.
but he needs to prove that.
Yeah, and she knows something's off, so
Yep.
that's why she's kind of standing with him too, because yeah, the circumstances, everything kind of played out. Like it sucks that the evidence is kind of pointing in his direction like that, but at the same time, you could tell, because, especially when she's spending time at his place a little bit and to watch the dogs, like the connection that they have, and she's like, yeah, like I don't think so. Like she still has doubt about the whole situation.
Yeah.
She's trying to use logic at the same time, trying to help him as best as she could.
Yep.
But if she knew 100% that, oh yeah, he did this, like the evidence points to, I don't think she'd be as kind.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it's good how they're playing it all out.
yeah. And and then they talk about how um she says, like, I don't believe that the Will Graham standing, in front of me right now is capable of the violence, that, the murders and everything.
Yeah.
And in that she says she believes that for periods of time he wasn't Will Graham,
Hmm.
basically.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to, like, we see Chilton is listening to um the whole interaction. He's got the cell bugged.
Yeah.
Um and then Will is talking about how he keeps hearing Hannibal's voice in his head, like saying things that he never even said to him. And he's like, it isn't my imagination, though, it's something else. And then he asks her to help him recover his memories. So we see them in a room, like there's a metronome going, and Alana's guiding Will. And this scene is awesome. When he opens his eyes, she sees her. The way she looks is like she's like a shadow person.
Hmm. A
Um,
little bit like how he sees Hannibal with like the stag antlers, but she
yeah,
doesn't have any, and her
yeah,
face is more clear.
yeah. It's like it's not that kind of demon threatening look. It's more of like there's like a beauty to it.
Yeah.
It's not, you can tell it's not a bad thing.
Right. And
And
as she's speaking to, she's saying, just if you get lost, whatever, just follow my voice. I'm here with you. And as she's saying it,
yeah,
she's like coming over the table, like almost like kissing him on the lips as she kind of like fades. It kind of like the whole thing becomes like this kind of a murky black. It's almost like, yeah, like a black shadow that kind of hits him and encompasses him. But
yeah,
as it does, like he wakes up into what this, you know, what he was seeing.
yep,
Like you said, it's really well done.
yeah. It looks fantastic.
Yep.
And he in his, like, his guided meditation thing, he sees himself sitting um in basically at Hannibal's table, all like
Yep.
decked out, like,
That's like a huge banquet kind of.
yeah, yeah. And then he's across from, we have that demon guy with the antlers.
Hmm.
And of course, we know that's Hannibal. In his mind, that's how Hannibal is.
Yep.
And then he looks down, and there's an ear on his plate, and he gets that kind of like
Hmm.
jostles him awake. And then, yeah, and he's like, this isn't working. And she asks what he saw, but he doesn't answer or anything. And then it
What did
immediately,
he say? Because she got something out of him
um
that I remember.
I don't remember her getting anything out of him at that point.
She put a little extra pressure, and she got something. I don't remember what it was though.
At that point, I don't think so.
No, did she do it twice? The hypnosis thing?
No, but he does remember something as he's eating later.
That I know. But I thought at that moment he did give her something. Ah, shit. I should have taken notes on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything. And I was, yeah, I was
It's like,
taking notes.
yeah, I know he didn't want to give her anything, and then she kind of got something out of him, but I don't recall what it was because it was the ear on the plate,
And then he woke up.
kind of banquet thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it was after he was back with her.
She asked him what he saw, but he didn't answer or anything. And then it cuts to Hannibal's dining room in real time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, back in and Hannibal's in real time. He's with Chilton at that point, right?
Yep. Him and Chilton are having dinner, and Chilton's telling him all about how Alana, visited him, and that he says, he's like, Will won't speak to me, and this bothers him because he basically wants to treat Will's mind like an amusement park the way he did with Gideon.
Yeah.
And but he says, that Alana was, she did that memory recovery thing with him.
Mm-hmm.
And
which
and
really would bother. Yeah, that bothered Hannibal because he's like, and it's easy too with this guy because he can get whatever information he needs out of Chilton.
Yep. Yeah, and Chilton doesn't even realize, like, they're both psychopaths, and Chilton doesn't even know that he's being played by Lecter.
Yep.
It's funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because of his ego.
Yeah, and
because he knows, like, he was like I know he threw a shot at himself, Chilton, where he's having a battle of wits with someone who's like this mastermind serial killer, and it's not like he's like he feels like discouraged that he couldn't or he can't really penetrate, but yet Will's willing to do like this kind of thing with Alana, and that's when he was like, oh really, like, tell me more.
Yeah.
And that shows you again how stupid, and because of the ego that's on Chilton, that he's not even seeing what Hannibal's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great how that all plays out.
Yeah. And he gives Hannibal the information, like he tells Hannibal that, basically Hannibal is Will's favorite topic. And he's like, he's telling everybody that you're a monster. And Hannibal goes, well, in that case, you're dining with a psychopathic murderer. And they laugh and clink glasses, and it's like if only he knew that he really was.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. He's the one that freaking gutted him.
I know.
Oh no, I'm sorry. No, wait, no, it was Chilton.
Chilton.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Gideon.
Gideon, yes.
Yes, my bad. But
but
he's responsible. Yeah, but he was responsible.
Yeah.
Hannibal kind of sicked them on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yep. And
they're with them. It's like, yeah, ha 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 ha.
I know.
Oh shit.
Bunch of nutcases in this show.
Right.
And then the next thing we see is
they're like a bunch of YouTubers.
Oh man. We have okay, so we're now we're on a bus, and we have like a point of view type camera style, and it's almost like Raimi Cam, and we're going down the bus, and we see like the person who is the camera puts his hand on, like, he hones in on one of the passengers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and he puts his hand on the passenger who's holding, like, those poles on buses. Yeah. He puts his hand on the guy's hand. The guy, like, takes his hand, like, he's like, what the
like
heck?
on the subway carts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, you have nice skin. And
yeah, that was creepy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Try that on the subway, man. Dude, that guy would be picking up his teeth.
I know. It's and then later that night we see that man who was, got his hand touched on the bus. He's outside his apartment, his car alarm's going off. And so he comes out, he shuts the car alarm off, and he sees like this plastic kind of hanging out of his trunk. So he opens the trunk to check, and we see a man with kind of like blonde hair approaching him from behind. And then next thing we see is that blonde man, and it's kind of like we're seeing from kind of like the victim's point of view in a way. And we see the blonde man, like he cooks up a drug, and we see the victim get injected. Um, and then we're also seeing like something being sewn. And the victim is like barely awake, and we see that guy with the blonde hair. He's like running some kind of like mister over him, which must be like that resin stuff that he
Yeah,
uses.
he's spritzing,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah, it's almost like someone with like who sprays like the pesticides.
Yes. It looks like a pesticide sprayer.
Mhm.
Yeah. It
Yeah, it's
looks
like a
like one of those.
backpack contraption thing with the like the
Yeah.
little nozzle and hose thing.
Yeah. DeBeese asked a question. He asked, did they establish he has some kind of psychic aptitude? I remember them kind of going that route when I stopped watching. So, if you're talking about Will, he is not so much psychic as it's more of like
Almost like he empathizes in a way where he could put himself into the mindset of a serial killer.
yeah, like he has so much empathy that it makes his insight into like killers and crime scenes and everything seem like there's psychic ability.
Yeah.
It's but I can see how that would come off as like a psychic
Yeah,
ability.
because he could like visualize like the steps that the serial killer made in his mind.
Yeah.
Just from like looking at the crime scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the way he does that, his reenactment, like they especially like the early episodes in season 1 when they would do like it looked like a pendulum swing, and it would each swing it would erase parts of the crime scene, and then Will would go in as if he was the killer and then recreate each part of the crime. It like like that's where his he basically has an empathy disorder where he is so empathetic that he can put himself in he could put himself in anybody's shoes, but oddly he can strangely identify with the killers.
Yeah.
So it's
kind of why he keeps himself away from people too.
Yeah, absolutely. He isolates himself, and plus he they wrote it into the show that he has autism, so there's that. And
like a lesser degree of it, but something's there.
He's like a high functioning.
Yeah.
And
it's good because I mean I know they departed from like what the character was originally, because in the original movies he has a wife and a kid, so he's not the loner type, but he visualizes things a little bit differently too. Like it's not as extreme as it is on this show, but I like how the show handled it, because it really plays really well with the aspect of like, especially how Hannibal manipulates his victims and stuff, and how he eventually got his meat hooks into Will to begin with, to play these games, these mind games with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And hello, Adam. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, Adam. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. Okay. So DeBeese says that he stopped watching when Lawrence Fishburne's wife revealed she had cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Okay. So that was like the middle of season 1, I think it was.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, they're very much worth watching again. I mean, that's why we're doing this, because the series is fantastic, and to kind of see how it all plays out, it's a beautiful tapestry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're thinking about picking this show back up again, DeBeese, I can't recommend it enough. It is such it's such a well written show, well
Hmm.
acted. It's just even aesthetically it's awesome looking and
Oh yeah.
um
And just the psychology behind the stuff that happens too, like those other serial killers in the series, and how everyone's kind of how they operate. It's really something else, and then how they're trying to catch them and the ways that they catch them. Um,
mhm,
yeah, yeah, I know you. It's weird too because there was a certain point where I felt like that when I first watched it too, where like when she came in, they kind of handle it in an odd fashion, but because they were trying to kind of keep a little bit of mystery too on like what she had and the cancer and all that. Because since then we don't really see her much.
yeah,
It's more like they kind of like we might see her one other time, I think in season one, but it's
mhm,
mostly like some little references here and there, and how Lawrence Fishburne is like he doesn't know how to handle it. Like he's
mhm,
kind of losing it a little bit in regards to like he wants to be there for his wife, but yet
mhm.
she doesn't want him yet for that type of help,
Yep.
because she's already she's at stage 4, and it's time's not on their side. So
Yep.
they did it in a weird way like that too, where it almost looks like she's cheating on him on at a certain
Oh yeah,
aspect.
yeah, yeah. They
So
kind of trick the audience with that, and
yeah,
yeah, it's very very awesomely written.
yeah,
It's
but
it
everything is very deliberate with the series. So
yes,
if
yep,
things feel a little odd to you at certain points, just stick with it,
yep,
and you're gonna see there's some good payoff that happens with all this stuff.
absolutely.
That's for sure.
And yeah, Devis says he's definitely going to be picking it back up because he wants to be in the know when we talk on Wednesday. All right, sounds
Awesome.
awesome.
Hell yeah.
And yes, Adam, it is definitely Trina approved and Vinny
Yeah,
approved.
absolutely. A
Yep.
chef's kiss.
Yeah, yeah, really. Um, all right, so now we are in the lab, and Zeller Zeller's funny.
Hmm.
So he's kind of he knocks on one of the bodies, and it sounds like wood, but we know that it's because they're like coated in that
Yeah.
epoxy resin stuff.
Yep.
And he says, dental and medical has come back and has placed all these bodies, and they're all adults, men, women, different ages, ethnicities. Like they can't figure out what connects them all,
Hmm.
and but the one commonality is that they all disappeared from their homes with their vehicles, and they all have large amounts of heroin in their systems, enough to cause death. Um, and then Zeller says, and then some. So it's like, yeah, overly, like
Yeah.
overly so. And someone asked about the discoloration on the skin, and it's actually preservative. Like he wants to make them look alive, kind of basically like dolls.
Kinda.
And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
A
so
little more
Jack
creepy.
says, "Oh, okay." So he injects them with a lethal dose of heroin, shoots them full of preservatives, and then seals them with this hard resin shell. And he's like, "What are these like little eyelet things?" And they think that it's to for them to be mounted. And then the team is tasked with getting a list of all missing persons, in all with their vehicles in the neighboring states. And now when they were going over this the like chain, this all this evidence and whatnot, and
Hmm.
those eyelets and everything, I'm thinking, doesn't that almost sound like he was making marionettes?
Kinda.
Right? Like if they were to be strung up and they were
Right.
yeah, like I'm thinking that this guy's making like marionettes, like little Pinocchios and stuff.
Yeah, it almost kind of points in that direction for sure. Like you said,
Yeah.
knocking on them, like it sounds like wood, but
Yeah.
the reveal is something else.
Oh yeah, at the end they're like,
Holy
"Whoa."
crap,
Yeah.
that was something, man. Whew. Yeah,
Oh,
it felt like Silence of the Lambs when you see what he did.
yeah. Yeah. Bleak ending.
Yeah.
Time Prophet says one commonality is that they are all very tasty. Interestingly, um, I don't think that these victims had any organs or anything removed.
No.
So I don't think this one was Hannibal.
Right.
So, but
Well,
I
yeah. Well,
don't.
we see the killer, and yeah, it's clearly not Hannibal.
Yeah, yeah, and or even a copycat. Like this
Right.
feels. This is
This is something
definitely different.
very unique.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it's
yeah.
there's definitely artistry that's at play though. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh man. Though, like, that's another thing I love about this show is that the kills that they have these murderers do, like they're they figure they write the most intricate serial murders
Hmm.
that have ever existed.
Oh my God, yeah,
The imagination is wild.
yeah, it is. But again, it's again like what happened in Silence of the Lambs. Like we have the people that were positioned in that way, like to make that moth, the skull of the moth
Yeah.
thing, and like
Yep.
yeah, they did something along these lines, and I was like, holy shit, that was cool.
Yeah.
It's disturbing, but it's really cool.
Oh, manliness. It says Jack the Ripper had the original takeout meal. Oh man.
He's not wrong. Oh, man. I mean, he was taking pieces and like he'd take a
Oof.
bite out of an organ and send it to the police
Oh
to mock
man.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was oof.
Oh, Jack the Knife.
Yeah.
All right. And so next we see so yeah, like when they're all just like they're tasked with, getting this list for Jack and everything, we see like this look on Beverly's face. And then next thing we know, Beverly goes and visits Will,
Hmm.
and he's happy to see her cuz he considered her a friend, and
Yep.
she's like, "Well, I don't know how I feel seeing you yet," which is fair because I mean all the evidence that they've collected is pointing to Will being, you know,
Yeah.
the killer and everything, and
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
this so
She treats him kind of like a shithead at the
I
same time trying to get info from him.
I was going to mention that. So this scene, there's something that bothers me in it. So yeah, and basically like what you said. So she's like she's mentions how there's a lot of people missing, and he asks if there's a file. You can see the hunger in him, still wanting to solve
Hmm.
crimes and everything,
Yeah.
and
To try to
so
save people, and
yeah,
yeah,
she
give me the file.
yeah. And so yeah, so she pulls it out, and she's like, do you have the pictures? And she hands him the pictures, and tells him the details about all the murders and everything, and he starts like arranging all the pictures in front of him on the table, and he goes, it's a color palette. And now that's awesome, like he was just able to put it all together
Yeah.
because he's brilliant.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said, so this really bothered me because she's like, I don't know how I feel about you, but hey, can you solve this crime for us?
Hmm.
Like, what the heck?
Which I like later. Hannibal puts her on the spot because when they're later on, they're back in like the morgue area or whatever, and they're talking about the bodies, and she thinks like she's a little smarter, so like, oh yeah, maybe it's a color palette. And when the way she brings it up was so out of the blue, Jack's slightly impressed, and then Hannibal goes, "It's like we have Will Graham right in the room." And then you could see the look on his face changes, and then he has a discussion with her. Or was that in the following episode?
I was just gonna say, I'm like, I don't remember this. Did I miss a scene?
Oh
And then
shit!
I'm
All right,
thinking,
maybe that was the second episode.
yeah, I'm thinking
Oh
that,
my
yeah,
god!
that must be in episode 2. But that's
Shit! Oh
okay. That's
yeah,
okay.
like I said, I watched both. I didn't know. Yeah,
That's all
lose
right.
too
That's
much.
all right. No worries. No
But yeah,
worries.
that comes back all right.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that because yeah, she was kind of a shit.
Oh
And
yeah,
so yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait to watch that scene.
that's
Um
good.
and yeah, and the next thing we see is the um orderly brings food to Will, and I had to make a note of this in my notes because that looked exactly like school lunches when I was a kid. And
Oh my God, yeah,
I just laughed. I was like, "Oh my god, it's school lunch." And but as he's eating, he starts, not imagining, but I think he's remembering Hannibal like forcing one of those large kind of like a very large like feeding tube down his throat.
yeah. This clear, yeah,
Yeah,
tube.
yeah. It's yeah, it's
Which it felt so relieving when we found out exactly how he did that, because it's like, oh my God,
yes.
yeah, like Will Lee literally coughed off the freaking ear, and
Yep.
now we find out that it's he did not ingest that willingly. He was out of it,
Yep.
possibly because of the the encephalitis that he had, and
Yep.
maybe because maybe he shot him up with something else. We don't fully know, but we just see like his eyes like rolled in the back of his head, and Hannibal's
Mhm.
wearing his plastic suit, and he's jamming this tube down his throat pretty damn far in order to get that ear, and then he's like using like some kind of wire or something to really shove it down.
Yeah, he like tamps it down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh, it was so
disgusting.
awful.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, yeah, because we see the whole thing how yeah,
Yeah, how
Hannibal
how
did,
yeah, Abigail's ear gets oh
yep, yep. Um Yeah, so then he kind of he starts actually choking on his food, and glances at his tray, and it looks like the ear is on his tray.
hmm
And then he looks again and realizes his tray is normal, but that's when he realizes, oh, that's how he did it.
hmm
And I love it. It's like, yes, that was the information that he's been trying to remember.
Yep.
And yeah, so we now Will is getting a visit by Jack. And oh no, I'm sorry, Jack goes to Will's house, and we see he goes in, and outside Winston is whining, so Jack greets him and lets him in, and then we see Alana show up, and they're talking, and I like how Jack was sitting on the bed with Winston,
Yeah.
because it's like he does, he still has feelings for Will
hmm
in order to be doing that, because she says, well, he says you need to take better care of the dogs, and she's like, um you know yeah, I have him chipped, but this one keeps, getting away. At least she knows where to find him. And she says he's looking for Will. And she goes, "Isn't that why you're here too?" And Jack nods. He's like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
Um,
because they all feel like Winston at that point.
yeah, yeah,
You know, they
literally,
all
yeah,
miss him. They all know that something isn't right with this, and they
yep,
all feel horrible and bad. And again, Jack has more guilt around that too, because he really thinks that he's the one that pushed him over the edge.
yep,
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot at play here, and they all care. They all care in a big way.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, Jack is saying, he's like, I understand why you feel the need to file that report and everything. He's basically like, there's no hard feelings. I know why you need to file that report, and that it'll help Will's defense. And she says, you know she's like, it's more important to Will that he declare Hannibal guilty than it is to establish his own defense. And Jack says, Hannibal's not guilty. And Alana says, neither is Will.
hmm
But he's hoping, that Hannibal did this so that he doesn't have to face the fact that he's the one that did it.
Yeah.
And
Which is amazing too, how well played all these characters are too. That
Yep.
they don't even think Hannibal for a second.
I know. I know. I really would think Jack would be onto Hannibal more so than
Mm-hmm.
at this point, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we know
Which
at
I
some
mean,
point it
yeah,
happened.
because in parts of season one, we could kind of see where he was leaning in that direction.
Yeah.
But I think because of how good he is on these crime scenes and stuff, and that
Mm-hmm.
he is helping them as well, I think
Yep.
that's what kind of is veering Jack away from even looking at him and being like, no, like all the evidence points at Will. Like,
Yep.
clearly, it's Will. You know.
Yeah.
So that's what, again, it's so good with all this kind of this cat and mouse stuff that's going on with these characters and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And he asked her to convince him, that Will didn't know what he was doing, because like that's really important to Jack. Like Jack, remember in last episode of last season, Jack's biggest fear is that Will knew the whole time what he was doing. Like he's just a intelligent psychopath, as he puts it.
Right.
So he's like, Alana convinced me he didn't know what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's like, a psychopath wouldn't be scared of the truth. Will is terrified, but he's not stopping from trying to find it.
Right.
So like she's there. Like she's definitely Will's advocate,
Mm-hmm.
on the outside.
Yep.
And then next we see,
because she loves him and she knows it's this isn't him.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So even if it was a temporary bout of insanity or something because of the encephalitis, like she believes in him.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what's solid about it.
Yep. Yep. Like like it wasn't him. Like even if it was him, it wasn't because he was sick.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she has total faith in him. And then we see Will is fly fishing in his lake, and we hear Jack's voice, and we see Jack across the lake. And then Will comes to, and Jack is there to visit Will at the mental hospital. And it's funny that because Will loved fly fishing, that's what he does when he wants to escape.
Yep.
So yeah, I like that. And so Will greets Jack, and Jack's like, "Where were you?" And I like how Will goes, "Gone fishing."
Mm-hmm.
And because the bumper sticker, like that was funny.
Yeah, it was good.
And he asks why Jack is there, and Jack says, I want to remember who Will was before all of this. And Will starts talking about, I remember that person. And then he says, like, memories are funny. And he's like, I actually have a new memory. And he talks about, he's like, Lecter planted just enough evidence to convince you of my guilt. And Jack's like, well, we've investigated your claims and we have found nothing. And Will says, you let the fox into the hen house.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack goes, you stood over Cassie Boyle's body and described yourself to me. And Will says, I described Hannibal Lecter. And he says, I am not the intelligent psychopath you're looking for. And Jack, did you notice that Jack held his gaze for a minute when he said that, as if he was chewing on what Will said for a minute?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jack is starting to leave, and Will says, you may not believe me now, but you will.
Yeah, because he goes, I'm not going to humor this. He goes, like,
yeah,
like, you're wrong type of thing. And as he's walking out like that, like, yeah, like you're fixated on that it's Hannibal, and that's not working for me. So as like he's leaving, that's when he says that. Yeah, he's like, yeah, you don't see it now, but you will.
Yep. Manliness. If you fly fishing, you have to use really tiny hooks to catch the fly.
That's like a dad joke.
Yep. And then we see, and then it just cuts to Lecter in an empty office. And I think that's the time where that would be Will's appointment.
Yeah.
Because didn't he see him like around 7:30-ish?
Yeah, 7 or 7:30.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we see the large green silos, and then the camera pans and it stops at the victim who we recognize from earlier. He wakes up and he's like stuck. His hand is like stuck to his face, and his legs are like stuck together. And then you see all the bodies around him, and he's screaming, and you see all the bodies around him, like, oh man,
Yeah.
that looked wild. And he's just screaming like screaming, and then it just ends there.
Didn't they pan up though?
Well, to see, only to show like all the bodies.
But didn't we see it like what it is? Wasn't it at the end of the episode that we actually saw what it was?
Let me see.
That's what I thought, because as he's screaming like that, and they pan like the camera, because wasn't it like fixed on him, and then as they went backwards, you see the full image with all the bodies.
Yeah.
It's an eye.
Okay, let me get a picture of it. Is that what it was? I couldn't tell. Yes,
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, it's like an extreme close up of like if you went into someone's iris. Yeah, like a brown eye or something. Not that kind of a brown eye.
Okay, yeah, all right. Let me present it, because,
Mhm.
dude. Okay, so I didn't notice that. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, that's
That
an
wild?
eye. Yeah.
It's amazing how they did that.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Wait till you get to episode 2 when something else happens. Yeah, good
That's
stuff.
amazing.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean, and it's kind of reminiscent of the moth from Silence of the Lambs. When they're looking at the photos and stuff, like, what was it? And there was a specific kind of moth that they were like the death moth or whatever the hell it was called.
Death Head's moth.
Yeah, because it looked like a skull on its back.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
It was trippy.
Oh man, I missed that. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good. Like the artistry that's in this series is next level.
That was awesome.
Hell yeah.
Time Prophet. I usually put a fish on my hook. The flies love them. But yeah, that was a great kickoff to season 2.
Yeah.
The whole thing. I gotta say, I'm glad that the Abigail Hobbs storyline has wrapped up. Last season and everything. I'm glad we're on to new stuff.
Yep. Well, the repercussions of all that. I mean, that's still gonna affect all the way to the end. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, because the storylines were again, the whole thing connects anyway. But the way that they were doing it, to dive now deep into what's going on here and like how the hell is Will going to get out of this situation, of being in prison, and he's basically being wrongfully accused and set up. It's really cool. Yeah, again, fantastic writing.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Oh man, yeah. It's just it just continues right from season 1. We just keep going like it was like there was no break at all.
Yeah,
I love that.
Mm-hmm. So good. It's just that choice of doing the opening like they did. Oh, that's the only thing that's like really gotcha.
Yeah. That was surprising. It really was surprising because yeah, they gave us how it ends because they say 12 weeks earlier, so we know that happens in 12 more episodes.
Yeah, because I
So
remember too when this originally aired. I'm like, oh, so is it just 2 seasons? Like that's the first thing that popped up in my head, and I
oh,
literally
true.
I thought that, and then like when they started doing like the promos for like season 3, I'm like, oh shit, they're really continuing it. I said, how the hell are they continuing it? Because I do remember bits of the end, and I'm like the situation is so extreme. I was like, how do you do another season?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but yeah, they did.
yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to getting through all these again because yeah, such a great show.
Absolutely is so awesome. So yeah, it's yeah, so we'll next week we'll do episodes 2 and 3, and you're already halfway done already.
Yeah, but
So
like I said, I'll probably go back and rewatch that, or at least uh, parts of it. Maybe I'll skim through it.
mhm,
But yeah, it's intense, the stuff that they have.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going through this season. I mean, I love this show so much.
I know. Yeah, because we get more Bedelia in episode 2 as well.
Yep,
I
yep.
kind of made a note of too, like where it ends, where the episode ends. I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. That's a good spot. I won't jump ahead any further. And so,
I know it's tempting. I immediately hit
oh
that
yeah,
X. I'm like, no more, no more.
yep, yeah. Because while I was kind of down for the count in the last couple of days, I was watching another series. And it was kind of the same thing. Like, oh no, I'll just keep watching through. But yeah, I finally saw that Fallout show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, did you see it?
I think I watched the first season.
Oh, there's only one season of Fallout.
Okay, then yeah, I did see it.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, with the blue and yellow suit there, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the chick she played, Jinx.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah.
I did not know what to expect because I never played the game.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the show.
Yeah, Walton Goggins was fantastic on there.
He's amazing. He's a great actor anyway.
Did you ever see that show Vice Principals with him and Danny McBride?
No.
I believe it's on Max. I highly recommend it. They're hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah, if you like Walton Goggins, it's definitely worth watching that series just for that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a fan of Danny McBride, but kind of classic Danny McBride in there.
I don't recognize the name, but if I saw the face, I might recognize.
East Down and Bound.
Yep.
Yeah, that dude. He's got the mullet or something close to it.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in Tropic Thunder. The guy who set all the pyro. He was a pyrotechnician.
Yep.
Pineapple
Yep.
Express, all that. Yeah. So the two of them are really funny in that series, and in I believe it's the first episode. Bill Murray's actually on it too. Yeah. So. Yeah,
It's a series.
Yeah, it's a series on HBO. I think they only did 2 seasons, but that's all you need. You know.
All right.
Yeah, it's funny. It is funny.
All right. All right. Well, that concludes our review of episode 1 of season 2 of Hannibal, and we will be back here at 8 next week, 8 p.m. Eastern next week to do episodes 2 and 3. But before we go, Vinny, go ahead and let them know what you've got going on.
Yeah, I got a lot of neck pain that I'm kind of working through right now. But,
I know.
No, but yeah, my projects, yeah, you can still get them if you go to my link tree and all that stuff. But or just go to Vinny Art on Twitter. All my stuff is there. I think it's. Did you have it in the description here too? I don't recall. Maybe not, but if not, yeah, go to. Hold on, I can drop the link tree. Yeah, I still have a ton of great books you guys could buy. Drop it in there. There we go. There's my link tree in the chat. So click on there. You could find me there on YouTube channel, all that great stuff. But yeah, we got Shout Out of the Kraken, Through the Woods, all those cool books. City of Venus is the only one you can't get right now, but that's because I am working on the sequel, and I'll probably make the first book available on that campaign. So once that's ready to launch, I'm doing like the pencils and inks on the last kind of like the last section of the book. It's a good, I don't know, 13, 14 pages left that I'm doing, but it's really pivotal, crazy stuff that's going on in there. Lots of action. So giving you guys a little extra to chew on. It's a much bigger book than the first one. That's why it's taken time. And again, I've got to do other work, doing conventions and stuff too. Next weekend, I should be doing an Animate Miami, I think it's called. Or yeah, something like that. It's the GalaxyCon shows. So if you're familiar with that, just look it up. GalaxyCon, go to the website and you'll see it. But yeah, I should be there for Valentine's Day weekend. But tomorrow we're going to be doing the toy stream on my channel and on Tommy's channel. So yeah, Trina should be there, Slasher, I think Adam. So yeah, come hang out with us. We're going to be talking toys and showing some cool stuff that we got. Yeah, it's always a good time. And then Sunday we should be continuing Primal, by the way. So if you want to catch up on the first 3 episodes, we should be jumping back onto episode 4. Yeah, on Sunday. And again, another fantastic series, awesome animation. It's very stylized, but it works. It works really well for this series and what they did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, one of my buddies, he worked on it too. Bob Camp from Ren and Stimpy. So yeah, he did some of the storyboard layouts and stuff for the series. So come check it out with us. It's going to be a good time. We're doing like a watch party anyway. So yeah, just watch the first 3 episodes, and yeah, I'm going to be dropping the link in the chat for people. So if you haven't seen it, you can watch it with us.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, fun. Trina. This was awesome. Looking forward for next week as well.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for being here. It's yeah. I love doing these, and yes, thank you everybody for showing up and tuning in and talking with us from the chat. It's awesome. I love having you guys there to talk to us while we're streaming, because you guys add a lot to the conversation. You really do. I appreciate you all so much. And yeah, you could be on any channel of all the millions of channels on YouTube, and you chose to spend your time with us, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, yes. So enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you again next week.
Bon appetit.